I had briefly touched about the history of human rights, but when we deal with the people who are dealing with the law profession or education of the law, it's very important for them to make them understand that the one school of thought which bases the right, that is the natural school of thought, or the natural source of human rights, and we call them the naturalist school of thought. The other school of thought, it is called the legal positivism, and we also call it the deliberative school of thought, because we saw in the natural school of thought that the origin or the basis of human right is based on the nature, on the God, or on the transcendental source. So you name anyway. So those people who bases the origin of human rights on the natural school of thought, they bases on the God, the nature, the transcendental and moral and ethical values. The other school of thought which I told, that is the legal positivism, or that is the deliberative school of thought. This school of thought says that human rights are not given like we saw in the natural rights. Human rights are the agreed upon, human rights are the discussed upon when the legislations, when originated in the respective parliaments or respective arenas and forums, then these laws are codified. So these rights having source in the deliberative or agreed upon sources. As I mentioned, that these are the two main schools of thought, or two philosophies which are dominant, but there are also two other philosophies which are in circulation in the human rights discourse. That is the one is the protest school. Protest school says that of course the origin of right is a natural. Every person, just because of a human, has a right, but it is not as given, but it is fought for. So rights are not given. Their philosophy is that you have to claim the right, you have to fight for the rights, and they say that the privileged classes, the dominant classes, the upper classes, they are not in favor of giving rights to the people who are from the lower school of lower classes. So mostly they do, though they invoke the language of rights, but they don't believe the education of the cases in the formal system. They say that the law is always privileging the upper class and the lower class is suffering in the law. So that is called the protest school. The fourth school is called the discourse school, and discourse school says, okay, it's fine to talk about human rights, it is fine to talk about rights, but basically these are the tools, these are the weapons which are being used by the powerful countries against the weaker countries. So whenever they want to impose their agenda, they want to invoke those friends. So actually these are the tools of in realism. So ultimately they believe that states are mostly driven by the realism, and where realism means the states are deciding on the rational choices, on the cost benefit analysis. So they just for camouflaging, they use the lenses of the rights, otherwise they are not sincere with the human rights. So they call it the discourse school of thought.